Hey, welcome to the Actor's Career Compass, where we give actionable, bite-sized tips to help you navigate your acting career. I'm your host, Martin Benson, and today I'll be answering a very specific question from one of my listeners. She says, how do I talk to agents about my career, and what mistakes should I avoid? Now, if you have a question you'd like me to answer in this podcast, don't hesitate to email me, martin@cityheadshots.com. That's Martin, M-A-R-T-I-N, at city, C-I-T-Y, headshots with an S. Martin@cityheadshots.com. Email me your questions because great questions make for great podcast episodes. So let's dive right in. How do you talk to agents about your career? Well, first, we need to think about the context of the situation, right? So if you're in a classroom setting or a workshop that's being run by an agent, you're generally not going to want to talk about your career unless they ask you first. Like, you're not going to just suddenly raise your hand and be like, hey, I've done this and this and this. People are just going to look at you and be like, what? Right? Now, it can be done though. Like, you can actually talk about your career in those situations, but you have to do it in a non-weird way. So here's how to do that, right? So if you want to highlight an achievement that you've made to an agent just to get them to notice you in the class, and you want to do it without seeming like braggy or weird, first you need to prepare in advance a question that you can ask that requires you to give context of your career. So an example would be, excuse me, Miss Agent, I've done about 10 speaking roles in short films so far, and one of them was SAG-AFTRA, so I am currently SAG eligible. Now, when it comes to getting an agent, how important is being a member of SAG, or at least being SAG eligible? So as you can see right there, this by putting your career as the context of the question, it basically allows you to impress the agent with your accomplishments while also not seeming like you're bragging. Personally, I believe that you would have wasted the opportunity if you just asked the question, like, when it comes to getting an agent, how important is being SAG eligible? You know, if you just ask that question without listing your career accomplishment first, it's not as effective as you could be. You have to work it into your question so that you are mentioning some of these things, especially if you want that agent to be considering representing you at all during that workshop. Now, let's pretend that you're past the workshop stage and you've been setting up meetings with agents. Let's talk about how to talk to agents in meetings and the do's and the do nots. Okay, we're going to get really specific here. But before we get into it, I'd like to briefly tell you about my course called Land an Agent. This is my flagship 2-week program that dives deep on the exact steps you need to take if you want to get a hardworking agent or manager to represent you. It works even if you're still relatively new and you don't have that many credits or a reel yet. So if you're ready for an agent to take your career up a notch, shoot me an email at martin@cityheadshots.com. Again, I said my email earlier. I'll say it one more time, Martin, M-A-R-T-I-N, at city, C-I-T-Y, headshots with an S. So send me an email at martin@cityheadshots.com. Tell me why you feel ready for an agent and the fact that you're interested in the Land an Agent course, and then I'll share with you more info about how you can join. Now, back to meetings. What should you do and what should you not do when talking to agents about your career? All right, so do not be fake or forced. Just have a natural conversation with them. Don't go in sounding like super rehearsed, like you planned out every question and everything. It's just going to come off weird, right? They're just people. You don't have to, go in like a robot. Just have a conversation, okay? Now, do show them your virtual setup. So if it's a virtual meeting where you're meeting them through Zoom or whatever, make sure that you have a professional backdrop, decent sound, and good lighting, okay? Agents want to know what you'll look like on the auditions that they send you to. And if your setup is unprofessional during the meeting, the chances are slim that they'll bring you on. Essentially, by showing them your virtual setup, you're talking to them about your career unconsciously. You're saying, I've got my stuff together, right? Now, another do is do prepare for the questions that they're probably going to ask you, okay? So some of these might include, how do you see yourself? Meaning, what character types and brand are you in alignment with? Okay, if you're not sure about type or brand, I do have a course. It's called A Brand You're Proud Of, and it shows you how to get clear on all of that very easily by yourself within a very short time frame. And there's very minimal need for you to talk to all kinds of other people and get feedback and wait on all of that. So if you're interested in that course, you could also send me an email about that. But basically, they want to know how you see yourself and what types of characters you can realistically play. If you just say everything, well, they're probably not going to take you very seriously, okay? Another question they might ask you is, where do you realistically see yourself in 5 years? Or who do you know? In other words, like, what contacts do you have in the industry? So these questions should be fairly straightforward. They just require you to answer directly. And essentially in those questions, the agent is directly asking you to talk about your career. So yeah, just answer those questions straightforward. There's nothing weird about talking about your career there. Now, next one, do not only talk about yourself during the interview. Instead, you're going to want to ask questions about the agency or themselves, the agent, just to show them that you're interested. A couple of questions that you could ask during the interview. One might be, what are you looking for in the actors you represent? Or, if you were to sign with me, what could I do to make your job as easy as possible? Agents like that question. And then one other one, I see myself as blank, but out of curiosity, how do you see me? So, for instance, if they don't ask you, how do you see yourself? Like, what types or brand, as we talked about earlier, you can just bring that up yourself and say, I see myself as this. And that's another great way to kind of talk a little bit about your career without seeming like you're bragging, right? Another do show some excitement. So if you come off as too stiff or professional during the meeting, the agent is probably going to think that you're not excited to work with them, or you're going to be some boring client to work with. As I kind of mentioned earlier, they want to work with a real person, so just don't be a robot. Don't ask bad questions. So these questions are some red flags for agents. How many clients do you currently represent, and are any my type? You can almost always find this information online, and if anything, I'd recommend asking them a modified version of this question to show them that you did your research, which would be, I saw you currently represent about 150 actors. A few of them look similar to me, so I was wondering, how do you submit actors who are similar, or do you see me as a different type? That's a much better question to ask. Another bad question to ask would be, what kind of work have you gotten in the last 6 months for your clients? This is like almost an offensive question, and it could really annoy the agent, especially since you could have easily researched that online. Honestly, like, who are you to ask what kind of work they've gotten for their clients? It's kind of like, basically, it's like you're saying, well, I don't trust you. What kind of stuff are you getting? Should I trust to work with you, right? Rather than asking the agent that, it might almost make sense to ask some of the clients that they've worked with. That's a strategy I teach in the course. You can actually reach out to some of the clients that the agent represents and get some feedback from them. I call that the reverse agency lookup technique. There's some other really cool ways that you can use that in the Land an Agent course, but just, if you're having question marks about whether an agent is going to be any good, it's usually not good to ask them. Like, this is another question that you shouldn't ask. I've been signed with a talent rep before and I never got auditions. How will you be different? It's just those types of questions. You should just avoid asking those. You want to keep things positive during the meeting. And if you do have question marks about an agent, again, you can research and learn about them online, or in some cases, reach out to actors and just say, hey, I'm considering representation with this person. How has your experience been? Right. Finally, do not oversell or over-exaggerate your accomplishments. Just be honest. Agents are looking for authenticity and potential in their clients, not just a list of like overblown accomplishments or resume padding, as it's called. Okay. So hopefully this has been helpful on how to talk to agents and how to talk about your career with them. I appreciate you listening in today. And as always, all I have is one ask. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the show so you don't miss future episodes. And if you're already subscribed, please leave a review on iTunes or Spotify. It's seriously the most helpful thing you can possibly do for me as I look to grow this podcast. Just search the Actor's Career Compass on either platform and you'll find it. Reviews help a ton because they make these episodes more easily findable for other actors too. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.